still do 7 NUFC Matters shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications options. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com. Thanks.
With you, well, you've gone sour. You want the world plus everything, but you won't work an hour. And now your questions are kept creeping, and you go and buy our flowers. You throw away the dreams we had, boy. I won't allow it. I said we're gonna fall out. Let's see you get out. I think we're gonna fall out. So shut your mouth.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters. It is the professionals. I always feel a bit weird when Steve Hastie's. Yeah, I should be saying the three amigos, but it is the professionals. Thanks to Steve for stepping in. He missed Friday, so he said he would jump in tonight to replace Stu Penman, who is out and about in the Toon, meeting and greeting various people. Yeah, as always, plenty to talk about in the next 90 minutes, and we will keep an eye on that match, as I'm sure you will be as well. Villa against Man United, which is currently 0-0. Himanshu put some questions in the chat, which I'll come back to, because one of them is about the show, so I would be interested in the lads' opinions on that. But Stephen Kennedy sent us an email earlier about yesterday's game, which of course was a 2-2 draw in the Premier League against Chelsea. Stephen said, how is it we are such slow starters to the second halves of games? It would be interesting to see how many chances conceded and goals conceded just after half time. Should Eddie get them out on the pitch earlier, getting them back up to speed? Because we always look lethargic for about 10 minutes. And if we concede, we drop right back. Who decides to put the smallest player in the side on the end of a wall when defending free kicks and giving the taker a target to aim for? Is it a coaching thing or decided on the pitch in the heat of battle? The second Chelsea goal is saved by Nick Pope. His trademark save is with his ability to stick out a leg to stop the low shots. And finally, Anthony Elanga. Should he be anywhere near the first team? His lack of confidence is costing us badly this season. And I was over the moon when we got him. Gave him the benefit of the doubt early days, but I'm sad to say I'm starting to worry every time he takes to the field. Such a shame, because that was our best 45 minutes of the season. It shouldn't feel like a loss after 90 minutes. Having said that, we would have accepted 2-2 yesterday morning, but it's one more game gone and we are not climbing the table. What are your thoughts, lads? I tell you what, that has encapsulated it in a paragraph, Mitch, for me, Stephen Kennedy's quote there. And bearing in mind, I'm only relying on social media because I've had a weekend away from football. I haven't seen the goals, I haven't seen the controversy, I haven't seen anything. But reading between the lines and listening to what you guys have been saying in the WhatsApp group and other people have been saying, Newcastle should have won the game, were robbed by VAR and officials again. But I think Stephen's email, good way to start.
Yeah, aren't we supposed to have a set piece coach? Who I think, was it you, Steve, who ably described him in the WhatsApp group, is doing all his designs with on an Etch-a-Sketch with a 9-year-old, because that's what it does fucking look like, really, doesn't it? You know, I don't see what we're getting out of the benefits of this set piece coach. Is there a rhyme or reason to putting people of different sizes in different places in the wall? I don't know. Everything in football seems overly thought out these days, so it wouldn't surprise us. Does Nick Pope make that second save? I don't know. We can't say. What I can say, though, is the data that says that Nick Pope has a save percentage of something like 78% and Ramsdale 49%. So, I guess the people who wanted to see Ramsdale in, myself included, are getting answers, and the answers aren't the ones that we were hoping for. Frustrating. Nobody's given Chelsea any credit here, and you've got to. They came out a totally different team in the second half, and it's not only what does Eddie said our players. Well, I don't know what the hell Maresca put in their half-time tea, but they came out with a totally different side, and they looked like they had more of an appetite. That said, was the foul for their free kick that brought the equaliser. Sorry, brought their first goal, a free kick. There's certainly enough suggestion that it wasn't really. Then you go back the other way. If that penalty is given and it's converted and it's 3-1, does that change the entire complexion of the game? Totally. Was Reece James on Harvey Barnes when he was through a foul or not? Because he certainly didn't play the ball. And yes, this whole concept of was there enough of a touch on the man? Was there enough of a touch? Liverpool seem to get plenty of them. Chelsea seem to get plenty of them. Man United seem to get plenty of them. Does it really boil down to whether the guy on VAR's had an argument with his missus before he comes into the studio? Does it really boil down to whether the guy on VAR has a, last time he was refereeing a game, he had a really nice interaction with Man United's captain, and so he's a bit more tended to give the decision one way or the other. Because let's be honest, there's enough evidence in all the games yesterday. As you guys know, I was with Chelsea Rob yesterday, watched the game together. I was at his until 2:30, 3 o'clock this morning, and we watched nearly every single game going with the setup that he's got now. And so there was plenty to talk about in terms of refereeing decisions, but also plenty of comparisons, plenty of things you could see across games. And I don't know if any of you guys watched the Leeds Palace game, in the commentary feed that we had for that game, the commentators even made a point that the foul for Leeds' fourth goal, the free kick on the edge of the area, was identical to the one that wasn't given in the Newcastle game on Gordon. Now, you guys, I know we sometimes get the worldwide commentary when you guys get a UK one. But either way, that point was made. The Liverpool Spurs game was shambolic. Thomas Frank's got every right to be going postal. Because the levels of inconsistency in that game were huge, and Nick's absolutely spot on. It's not about right or wrong, always. It's about consistency, and not just within each game, but also between games. How are things being assessed on a consistent level between officials? It isn't just us. It's other teams as well. But there's a small group of teams seem to get far more benefit of the doubt than others. And it's becoming almost painfully obvious now. We can't excuse chucking away another 2-goal lead. You've got to give Chelsea some juice for having the heart to give it a go. I think another game on another day with another set of officials, we get a very different set of results. It's hard to bear. It's hard to bear given how many points we've given away from winning positions.
13 points, Mitch. 13 points we've given away from winning positions.
That was one we should have put it away, really.
10 games without a clean sheet.
Harvey Barnes had a wonderful chance that he put wide. And again, on another day, that goes in, and we're back up in it's 3-2. So frustrating. I think I said to you guys after the Mackham game on Elanga. I've been happy to support Elanga and back him all season, but I'm now at the point he's going to have to morph into sort of prime Laurent Robert for me to see justification to have him in the team now. I don't know what's wrong with him. I've tried to give him the benefit of the doubt, personal reasons, things that we knew were going on in the background. Some things are still going on in the background, as far as we know, beyond his wife giving birth, etc. But at the same time, he's not delivering. We've spent not an insignificant amount of transfer budget on him, and we're not seeing that come back. I was hoping he would give such a wonderful counterpoint to Murphy on that right-hand side, where Murphy's all about getting into the right position and hitting the crosses in. He would be hurting centre fullbacks by running at them. And he can have a wonderful 1-2 punch, wear them down with Murphy, and then the last 20 minutes of the game set Elanga on them with his pace. Or vice versa. Give Elanga 70 minutes of running at them, and when they're knackered, stick Murphy and his brains on and work it that way out. There's something... I don't think it's about him not wanting to be here. I think if you look at how he interacts with the rest of the team, if you look at the social media stuff, he seems very happy and engaged with the squad. But there's definitely something missing in his confidence and his ability to deliver on the pitch.
Yeah, I'd agree. There's no doubt about that, Mitch.
And that's something I would normally sit here confidently say, Eddie will fix that. I'm not seeing any signs of it being fixed. So that's another one that sort of compounds and frustrates. Of the others, I thought Ramsey had a decent, stint again. I thought he was great against Fulham in midweek. I like the energy he brings, but I'd still like to see a bit more from him. And we're at this sort of point where we're now genuinely scratching our heads and wondering what the heck's going on. It's so frustrating. I hate leaning on, VAR being one of the reasons we didn't win yesterday. We should, from 2-0 up, have been able to put that away. Gary, it's a great point, but that's every team in the Champions League. And I'm not even hearing Arteta whinge about that. And
we mentioned this on Friday.
If Arteta's not whinging about it, it's not worth whinging about.
It's rubbish. It's a crap excuse. And we
know what it is. They can't train the way they would like to train. No, they can't, because most of the sessions are recovery sessions.
Yeah,
which is fine. And walkthroughs are all well and good. It's now like a proper training session when you're trying to, put certain things into place. I tell you what, that gives me even more props to Miley being able to shift to right fullback and looking like he's played there most of his bloody career, because he's had 2 walkthroughs.
Yeah. We'll come to that. We'll come to that.
Phenomenal. Oh yes, let's go to that as well. That handball against Fofana, we've seen them given this season for other teams.
Yeah.
And there's the consistency issue. I think the commentary we had on, because of course Rob was all over the scene. See what the commentator says. Dear God, sort of clutching at straws. It said apparently he was moving his hand back in towards his body. Was he bollocks?
That's his opinion as well. That's his opinion. Was
he bollocks? It goes out. That way is not in towards the body. That astounded me to hear that given as a reason. And I've definitely seen those given for other teams. And yes, handball, when it's that close, is always a controversial one. Because, what can you do with your hand when it's fired at you 300 mile an hour from 3 foot? Sometimes you maybe have to give or take. But when you know for a fact they're given for some teams on a regular basis, and you don't get it, it compounds the frustration. Good comment about the tackle that Simmons made and Garnacho's tackle. Again, I don't know why that wasn't revisited, because it should have been.
Mm-hmm. Steve, plenty bones to pick out of what Mitch has said. You've got your own opinion, of course. Interesting when you were talking about VAR. I mean, I mentioned a while back, I often feel like, as well, the VAR officials have got Sky on in the background and they could be influenced by the commentary. I know that people might think that's crazy, but wouldn't they have the commentary going in the background when they're watching it? Are they getting just a direct feed? I'm not so sure, but that's my opinion. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but that would influence it. You sometimes hear the likes of Gary Neville going, "Oh, that's never a penalty. That's never a penalty," and the decision's made quite quickly. So I don't know. That's just my opinion. I'm not sure. But what's your feelings on the game yesterday in general?
On that particular topic, I think that quite often they get for example, we know that the semi-automated offside wasn't working, and I think there was a bit of a panic going on behind the scenes to get that going, and I think they were concentrating on that, and I think that they let so many other things go. That's just my opinion, but I thought second half Chelsea came out and performed the way I expected us to at the Stadium of Light last weekend. We didn't. We just came out and played same old. If Chelsea had come out and played same old as they performed in the first half, we would have been miles off them. We would have been away, completely gone. But they changed their style, became a lot more on the front foot. But again, we sat back and we decided that we're going to nab them on the break. And this kind of game management that people are talking about, I mean, it's fine margins, isn't it? I thought the first half, that was probably our best performance of the season, if not one of our best performances since the cup final. Quite honestly, I thought that we did everything that we could do to...
First 25 minutes, mate, I would agree with you.
Yep, apply pressure in the right time, move the ball quickly, move it through the transition from defence to attack, the movement off the ball, everything about that first half performance was superb. And we did have the opportunities in the second half. The Barnes one for me was definitely a penalty. Gordon, that was a penalty. Barnes's effort when the ball came over and he hit it just wide of the post by about a foot. On another day, that would have been buried in the back of the net. And I think every single person sitting around us who jumped up screamed goal. And then we're looking at each other going, what happened there? We were convinced that it had hit the back of the net. And, it's just it's just those fine margins. But we're talking about stats. We're talking about various things. And there's an interesting thread that started with Luke Edwards on X earlier on, where Luke said, look, there's nothing to worry about. We've had one defeat in 7. We're in the semi-final of Carabao Cup and we're 6 points off 5th. And immediately people retaliated with, we've only won 2 in 8. We failed to hold on to lead in the last 4 games. We're 5 points off 17th. We've had no clean sheets in 10, and we're 10 points dropped from winning positions. And then the next one was, since the start of 2025, we've won 17, drawn 6, and lost 13. We've only had 1 clean sheet in 12 games. So straight away, people are analysing, without, what went on in those games. It's all well and good getting those stats and just plonking them down on a bit of paper. But what caused that during those particular games? Did we have a player sent off? Was there an injury? Were players out of form? Were we struggling to get a striker? What was the situation with the goalkeeper who was out injured, etc., etc.? But then you dig further and you go, this season we've lost to West Ham, we've lost to Brentford. These are games that we should be winning. We gave 2-goal advantage against Chelsea. We gave up the lead against Leverkusen. We gave up the lead against Spurs. So then you start to think there's something more fundamental than this. There's something within the coaching setup or within the team setup, whether it's a lack of concentration that's causing that inconsistency, whether it's poor game management, whether it's bad luck. I mean, all of these things could come into it. Yesterday, I was possibly bad luck and poor judgment by the referee. So it's all well and good that we can do this sort of like back and fag packet analysis with numbers and do comparisons, but the game ends. That's it. The game's gone, and we'll move on to the next one. And that's what we have to do. And I think Eddie knows what's going on. I think Eddie's comments actually after the game, where he talked not about him and his coaching staff, but he talked about the players getting it right. The players seem to be up for it. And my first thought was, well, did you not expect them to be up for it? You know, I can be critical, Eddie. You know, you are surprised that the players were up for that game. You were surprised by the amount of pressure they were able to put on. You were surprised by their fitness. You were surprised by their intensity. And he was saying that. And I'm thinking, perhaps Eddie didn't expect them or didn't want them to play in that manner. Was he wanting to be a bit more controlled? Did he want them to play more like Chelsea and just play the role all around in a similar way as we did against Sunderland, without creating anything, you know? Excuse me. All rather odd. But it's been an odd since the cup final. It's been very odd. Some odd performances from us that we can't take away. That we've got to live with. Do we need to freshen up? Can we freshen up with the players that we've got available? Possibly not. Can we freshen up in the transfer window? Quite possibly. People are talking about Ramsdale, and yes, we all screamed for Ramsdale to come in over Pope because Pope was having a bit of a lean time. I thought Ramsdale positioning for Reece James's free kick was poor. When you see it from behind the goal, I thought that he was watching the ball. He had a perfect view of the ball. The wall was on the other side, but he had a perfect straight-on view. And I'm thinking, if you're going to watch the ball, and it goes over the top of that wall, you're not going to get it. And sure enough, he didn't. He was slow to cover a much, much bigger area into that corner. So little things, fine margins, I suppose you could call them. But this is the way that the cookie's crumbling with us at the moment. We've just got to hope that we can carry on the first half and start to do that for 90 minutes or 75 minutes and be in a position where we've already shut up shop, where we're already 3-0 up. I think we could well have been 3-0 up, and I think if we'd gone 3-0 up, I think Chelsea would have folded. And I think at 3-0 up, with some of the tackling they put in, there's every chance that the referee might have acted differently and he might have sent somebody off. But as soon as they got back in the game, I think he just wanted the game to flow. He just wanted to be seen to have a very, very sort of free-flowing match. And he didn't want to be the centre of attention in terms of sending anyone off. But, of course, the other side of it was he became the centre of attention by the complete lack of going to VAR. Or the quick manner in which VAR decided that those issues and those tackles didn't warrant a review, and he just accepted that. Now a referee can change his mind, but on this occasion he didn't. He decided what he was hearing in his ear. He just took it as granted. He could have, if there was a doubt in the VAR box, or if he felt as though there was something amiss, he could have turned around and go, I'm going to have a look at this, lad. Now, 9 times out of 10, when they go and have a look at it, it's going to be a change of decision. It's going to be a goal. But the very fact that he didn't even have the confidence to do that is disappointing, because that's using the technology to its best. Him getting an alternative view and being able to turn around and go, I'm sticking with my decision. That's all he has to do. I'm sticking with my decision. I thought the player got in front of him. I thought he touched the ball or whatever. He didn't touch the ball. We know that on the Barnes one. And there was nowhere near the ball when the shoulder came in on Anthony Gordon. The other tackles, we've seen them give him, we've seen them haven't. We've seen bookings and we've seen sendings off and we've seen play on. We've been the benefit of that ourselves at times. Joe Linton, perfect example. Some of the tackles he manages to get away with. But when it's going against you, everything goes against you. It would have been nice to have those 3 points in the bag yesterday. It would have set us up nicely for going to Old Trafford, who at the moment it looks like they're getting beat 1-0.
1-1 now. 1-1.
1-1 now, is it? Oh, typical. That trip to Old Trafford could be a defining moment for us, and it could be a defining moment for Eddie Howe, because the way things are going, when you look at that list, for example, it just needs someone in PIF to look at it and go, well, that's not really good enough, and I can't see any improvement. It's just one of those seasons, Steve, at the moment where we are. Maybe our expectation was so high, and I was making that expectation high. By the way, you know, the chief executive coming out and saying we're going to be the best team in the world in 5 years and all this type of thing. You know, to me, when he said that, that wasn't based on any fact. That was just his aspiration. You know, and I'm thinking, silly thing to say. You know, yeah, we all sit in the pub and you know, after 6 pints we'll say something ridiculous like that. But I don't expect the chief executive of the football club to be coming out, especially when he's only been here for like 45, 50 days or something, you know.
Yeah, Barry's asking questions about Barry. We're not going to go into the transfer window now. It's not January, and you know, we will go into that. Obviously, we've got a full month of it. Give us time to get ready for it. Himanshu asked a question earlier on, and this isn't the first time he's asked it, so apologies, Himanshu, for not coming back to you again. I know you've got a couple of other questions in there, but this was because we were going to do Ask Mitch, of course. Does Dr. Neil like Tweet of the Week section on the Amigos? Steve's gone into a bit of a blur there because he's gone there. Steve's internet's playing up a little bit, so he might be able to hear us. But
if I don't, I'll still send you some of them.
Well, you do still send us them. Yeah, I mean, look, I have put a poll in the chat.
Is it because
I do listen to you?
Because sometimes I put the camera off when it's on and things like that. That's usually because I'm going to top my drinks up.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. I know Himanshu just doesn't like it, right? Which is his opinion. And you know, like every now and then we do change things, we do take things off. I will leave it to the chat, and that's why I've announced it on here. Himanshu's question is quite valid. If people said they hated it and didn't want it, I would take it off. But I've got to be perfectly honest. It gives us an opportunity for, obviously not for me to have a break, but it does give the lads a chance to have a break, and it lightens the programme sometimes.
Yeah, it's because very useful to break. Sort of when things aren't so good, or we're going into something that's quite deep.
Yes,
it genuinely is a good way to reflect away from that.
He's saying not between serious discussion. I get it, Himanshu, but honestly, sometimes I don't think you understand sometimes the mental stress that, and I know it sounds stupid, but we can actually be under a bit of mental stress discussing all of this stuff. It does cause us a bit of an issue sometimes, because put yourself in the position that we're in. We sit and talk about it. It's for entertainment, and it gives you lot somewhere to come and chat about it. But we need a bit of light relief sometimes, and it is funny. And you know, I do the disclaimer really so that we don't get banned from the ground, because ultimately there are people out there who would love to see me, Steve, Mitch, and other people associated with this banned from the ground, not allowed to comment on Newcastle United at all. But you know, from our perspective, it's just a little bit of light relief. But listen, there's a poll there. I will listen to what the poll says. And if there's an overriding disagreement with me putting that up there, then I'll do it. But it needs to have that little light relief. And ultimately for us as well. Yeah, I took Troll of the Week away, because Troll of the Week was people who were literally having a go at me or the lads on a regular basis. And we literally used to screenshot them and we'll pick the best ones, and we had the Troll of the Week. I stopped that. Right, I stopped it because I felt it was petty and I didn't need to do it anymore. Because those people will continue no matter what. And why give them a pedestal? Why promote those people? So we just ignore them and move on. We block them on our social media and we just move on and we ignore the comments, which is what we tend to do. But Tweet of the Week's a bit different. So yeah, there we go. I've left it there. We'll leave the democracy out. I'm going to ask you, I mean, Steve, do you enjoy Tweet of the Week?
You know what it is, Steve? I think what we've got to appreciate is that everyone has a different style of humor. Everyone likes different comedians. You know, you might love Jimmy Carr, but you might hate another particular comedian. You know, and it's all, you know, that's life. Get rid.
We've lost you a bit there, Steve.
And it's also how you.
It's very normal call, yeah.
Is it? Or I'll pop out.
Okay, mate, we'll take Steve off. We'll get back onto the serious stuff. But the polls there, give it a vote if you want. Yes, MB79 as well. I did put a big tweet up about this. Very, very disappointing about Bedlington Terriers. I think we all literally feel it when a club dies like that.
I think something like that, what's really important with them, they had a one-off cash injection, didn't they, from a benefactor? And
yes.
It just shows one-off cash injections really don't do much. They kick the can down the road. Unless a team's in a position to be sustainable and are allowed to become sustainable. And I think this is where I think you could say this probably from League Two down, that there's a lot to be said for reassessing the entire League Two through the non-league structure to allow clubs to become sustainable.
Yeah.
Because they're the classic example of a benefactor coming in, fixing a few problems, making a cash injection, getting that pitch sorted, getting this sorted. Great, we're on track. 18 months later, out of business, and it's sad.
Yeah, we're just talking about Bedlington Terriers there. I mean, that'll be something that gets clipped a little bit later. By the way, Steve, you jumping in, and you look as if you did what was it, Rent a Ghost? Do you remember Mrs. Popoff, where she sneezed and arrived? It just looked like that. Very funny. Anyway, I mean, what's your views?
It's very disappointing, but it's not long ago that there was this American benefactor that was putting money into them, and he was taking them at the end of the season over to his ranch and all this type of thing. And there was high hopes for where Bedlington were going to be going. You know, he was aiming for the stars, wasn't he? And I don't know what happened, but let's face it, we can cry as much as we like about the impact that it's going to have on the Northeast or on the football world in general or the Northeast football scene. But people aren't going to watch. You know, that they're existing on 200, 150, you know, so we can cry as much as we like about the demise of Bedlington Terriers and, you know, the struggles at Blythe and all this type of thing. But if nobody's supporting them, if nobody's going and, it's existing hand to mouth continuously, it's inevitable that this is going to happen. And they'll not be the last. And all I can say is, Northeast football fans, it's as much our fault if we're not going and supporting the non-league and we're not putting the effort in. I know there are people who follow the non-league religiously and that's all they follow, and that's great. Fantastic that they do that. But the ones who do the crying are the ones who've never been to Bedlington Terriers for about the last 10 years anyway. You know, that tends to be the way it works. I think Wrighton went to the wall, and I think there's been one or two others that have gone to the wall recently. And other clubs have tried to merge, and then there's been a fallout because they don't want to merge. Very sad, but if the support's not there, just like it is with a corner shop, just like it is for a garage on the end of a little village somewhere, if you're not using it, then at some point in time it's going to disappear.
Yeah. Very, very true. Thanks to everybody watching on different platforms. We do put it out on quite a few for everybody to watch on different platforms. And those of you watching on Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter, jump over to YouTube, search NUFC Matters, hit the subscribe button. It's free. We do 7 shows a week. Mr. Jimbles, a new-ish name in the chat, says, do the lads think the club's conscious of all the disappointed fans out there and are possibly going to throw us a bone in the new year? A stadium announcement, perhaps, season ticket waiting list, or a revision and transparency of the member scheme? I mean, they've done a lot of questionnaires and emails, Mitch, to season ticket holders and people. Do you think there'll be, as Mr. Jimble says, a bone chucked?
No. The club and the way they go about things at certain levels, and this is why we are continually critical of it all, was they would like to tell you they've got their finger on the pulse, except they're looking for a pulse on a chair leg. They're being pointed. They're happy to listen to an echo chamber of selected voices at the exclusion, deliberately, of some, in my opinion. but very much the echo chamber that the people making the decisions are listening to is a curated one, and has been for quite some time. See also my little rant on Friday, I guess. It connects into that and about how the club, they've paid a lot of lip service to listening. And really, it's not quite as bad, but it's a good 80% on the way to the fans forum that me and Steve gate crashed. God knows how long ago, when they were basically talking to Derek Lambias and telling him everything was great, everything was fine, and their biggest concern was that the chips were cold on one of the concourses, and there was some naughty graffiti in one of the bathrooms, and we're sitting listening to this going on, and the people that were there talking to Derek Lambias were there because they were enjoying a nice cup of tea and a slice of cake at the behest of the club, and they were never going to have the balls to stand up and say what was really going on. Nor do I think some of the individuals present had a fucking clue what was going on either. I think some of them didn't even know what day of the bloody week it was, but that's maybe some of that. Am I being a bit harsh with that comment? Probably. No, I'm not. And
also,
very much at the minute, right now.
We're also saying, Mitch, what those people were also saying was that these bad lads in NUFC, ignore them. Yeah. They're not the true fans, despite 29 and building up to 38,000 membership that we had at that particular time. But we were not the people to listen to. Don't pay any attention to them. They're not the real fans. That's what was getting fed back to them.
But it's still going on now.
Yeah.
It's
the joy of fan politics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the challenge is, even if there's people within certain levels of the club who are aware of certain concerns, and I know for a fact there are, some of them are hamstrung by the position they're in, and people above them who will sort of effectively nullify anything that they try and do. Or some are unwilling. And that's just as bad, really, in my opinion. But there's, I know the lads at NUSC new version aren't bothered by it all.
No.
But there should be a line of communication with those lads and lasses, and there's not. And already in that, there's a big mistake. Don't recognise them as an official supporters club. That's fine. They don't want that. They don't give a fuck about that. In fact, I think they'd be proudly independent. And that's fine. There's room for all of that. There's absolutely room for all of that. But it would be very unwise to do effectively what you're doing now, which is be dismissive of it all. You can't tell me that they've made certain decisions based on the influence of certain individuals who hold multiple positions, be that within FAB, NUST, or other things, and what those individuals have suggested is what's effectively been done, and now nobody wants to take responsibility for the fallout of that and the unintended consequences thereof. But there have been quite severe unintended consequences that somebody needs to take ownership of, and nobody's prepared to. And so, are they going to throw a bone? No. Are we going to get a stadium announcement? No. I don't think that's coming anytime soon. But I would also say, I don't want a hurried stadium announcement. I don't want to draw on something that looks like a circus tent in the middle of the city that we know is never going to be envisaged and it's never going to come to pass. I've seen so many projects in this region with fancy drawings and great diagrams and everything being told what's going to appear, And then what eventually appears is a fraction of what was been the pomp and ceremony 5-10 years ago, or some of them never appear. I'd rather, because it's such a big decision, and you can probably read more of this in the coming fanzine, that will shape Newcastle United, not just for the next 10 years, for the next 30 plus years, that I'd rather have the right decision. And that's going to take time. It has to take time. It's such a huge thing. And I think everybody's within PIF's view was on the long term. It's not in the short term. And don't know whether people want to hear this or not, but keeping us happy in the short term's not on that agenda.
No, I would agree with you. There's been a lot of talk about this, Steve, over the course of the last, probably the last 18 months. Lots of talk. When we get the new stadium, when we get the new training ground. But and there's been lots of questionnaires, but there's also been a revolving door in the boardroom as well. So each revolving of the door brings a different game plan. It's very similar in a lot of ways, although we've won a trophy and we're not looking at relegation weekly, but it's very similar to life under Ashley, a revolving door in the boardroom, and that really doesn't give you a set game plan because no one is ever given the time to reach the goal that they promised.
Yeah, or stamp their authority or stamp their personality on the club. I think there's a lack of accountability sometimes in organisations such as the football club when the decision making process is made. The biggest analogy I get when the club speaks is it's very much like, "Oh, you're being served," and it's young Mr. Grace. "You're all doing very well," that's the thing. That's the way I look at it, because it's just like it's lip service. It's just it's just the way that it just doesn't fit, and is it contempt? I suppose for some people it is. Those who eat, sleep, and drink the football club for 24 hours. They want instant payback. They want instant news on every single question that they want to throw at the club, and we know the club doesn't operate in that way. But I think the accountability aspect within certain quarters of the ground, or certain quarters within the club, I don't think anyone's accountable for anything to do. I think decisions get made, and then that's it. We live with it, because you don't hear this. You don't hear anything to do with ticketing suddenly being turned on its head when we've identified things that have gone wrong or things that aren't working. It's a case of put up with it. The situation of the checks before away games where fans are having to wade through, go to a ticket office at the away club through the away fans, and it's like, well, that's the way it is. It's safe now, apparently. Imagine if I'd done that at Sunderland. You're there in your black and white scarf and your black and white top, and you get knocked back, and you have to go to the Sunderland ticket office on the other side of the ground to get access. To find out why your ticket's been rejected, and it's been rejected, and you're being put into a situation not of your choosing, simply because someone's decided that you've been allocated for a spot check. There's these type of things.
Happened at Sunderland, by the way. There was a kid who was on the bus with me, whose ticket, he had to go to the Sunderland box office on match day. When we got there an hour and 20 minutes before the game, when Sunderland fans are piling into the stadium, and he had to go around to the box office to go and get his ticket.
Right, that's a disgrace. That's an utter disgrace. That's putting him in danger.
Yep. Imagine if it had been somebody who was well known. Imagine if it was Adam P, for example, somebody who's made his mouth go about the Sunderland, in a joking way for content. But imagine if he'd been sent in his black and white gear around to the box office on match day to go and get his ticket, because it would have, it could have, it could be me, it could be him, it could
Steve,
be anybody.
if it was you, and you don't have to be dressed up in your best, all you've got to do is pay gazelles, and everybody knows you as the vicar. So, but
you're right though. Any Newcastle fan who's known,
you are by default by the club put in personal danger. Who answers to that?
Yeah,
exactly.
And that's wrong. This is why, and you know, my dad gets wound up terribly about it and entrapment and things like that. And I get that's the old magistrate in him, and he because he's intensely passionate about fairness.
yes.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not right, and nor is that in the spirit of what making sure away tickets getting into the right hands and all of that. It's a joke.
Yeah.
And that is I would be any fan who'd been turned away to the Sunderland ticket office to do an ID check in that situation. I would be more than writing to the club with a strongly worded letter. I would be lawyering up and talking to the club.
There's another thing as well, and I'm not going to drag this on because we're going to go into the ads, but just another thing to bear in mind for those people who do watch from the club, because people do sit and watch this podcast and report back, you know, just to say, you know, just to really make sure that everyone is doing it, not just our podcast, every podcast. But another thing to pass on to the club is that it is ludicrous to have nobody at all answering on behalf of the box office on a weekend when there's a game and when most issues are going to happen or occur to somebody's phone, to a ticket that suddenly disappears from your wallet on your Android or your Apple phone, to basically respond on a Friday at the end of business and say, well, the box office is going to be closed. You know, it's closed over a weekend. It's just ludicrous. So there does need to be some kind of system set up, I think, moving forward to help people over a weekend when, of course, that is the most likely time that people would even check their tickets to make sure that they're still there. You know, people work Monday to Friday. Call us. You know, say I'm being a bit anal on this, but does it really cost a great deal to have one person sitting on the internet over the weekend?
All feels like ways to manufacture people defaulting on the use of their tickets. I don't know if you've seen an example from Man United this week, somebody who missed 2 games because his brother had passed away, and another reason he had 2 good reasons for missing games. And they've now jumped all over him and taken his tickets off him for the rest of this season and for going forward. And it's like, it's almost like entrapment again. Well, you've defaulted, we'll have your ticket off you, thank you.
Yeah.
If they don't want season tickets, come out and say it.
Yeah.
Have the balls to come out and say it. Going forward, every game will be ticket only. There will be no more season tickets. And it'll be surge priced, and it'll be category priced, because we feel this is the best way going forward for the club. And then deal with it. Don't do it by the back door sneakily. Don't mess around like that. Just do it.
Okay, It is called customer service. Yeah, we're going to give the lads a chance to go and top up their drinks, and we'll be back after the ads. A big thanks to our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them, www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Email info@mrvickies.co.uk. Telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. They've just announced their 2026 tours. 2 crew, driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels, no interchanges, hot, cold snacks and drinks available on the coach, all excursions included. Website is unitedgrouptravel.com. Email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com. Telephone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. It's just £30 per person deposit. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. If you enjoy listening to the podcast, You can try us on Sports Social, and that is Sports Social Podcast Network. You can also catch us on iTunes or Spotify or wherever else you listen to your podcasts. Big thanks as well to Media Arts for all the technical side of things. If you want to become a member, you can join as a YouTube member by hitting the join button underneath the video. Don't forget as well, subscribe to the channel. It's free. We still do 7 shows a week. Hit the like button, which is the thumb up, and share to your other social media. If you'd like a badge, a pen, a key ring, and a coaster and a membership card, then you just need to go to our website, nufcmatters.co.uk, and you can become a member of NUFC Matters via the link on our website. Got a couple of events to tell you about. Beardsley, Waddle and Gascoigne are together at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House. That is the 13th of February 2026. Gibbo is comparing. You can get your tickets from the box office at the theatre or give them a ring on 0191 243 1171. In January, Supermac and Gibbo are teaming up together at the Tyneside Irish Centre to raise money for the North Tyneside Age UK Dementia sector. And your tickets are £19 from voucher, or you can buy them direct from the website, nufcmatters.co.uk. Peter Beardsley will be with Joe Allen on the 30th of January, again for Age UK North Tyneside Dementia. And tickets are available for £29 on voucher or from nufcmatters.co.uk. We're also raising money for Age UK North Tyneside Dementia with another Blake 7 convention, Saturday the 1st of August, 10 till 4. Tickets are £20 for standard, £75 for VIP, and you can get them again from our website. And a couple of stocking fillers for Christmas. The Entertainers by Will Scott. We've got 10 copies signed by Warren Barton, again from the website. My book, The Promoter and the Photographer, written by myself and Andy Thompson. All proceeds going to the dementia sector of Age UK North Tyneside. You can get them again from www.nufcmatters.co.uk. Thanks to everybody who's bought those Blake 7 tickets. We put them on an early bird offer and we sold just short of 50% of them already for the dementia charity, which is great. People had a great time with that this year. Those are going up. Those prices are going up over the new year. So if you want to get them at the reduced price, then please do that. Somebody called Adam Pierce in the chat says, "Hi guys, tweet of the week and skips and bins are cornerstones of my week. Please tread carefully when making any decision." I'm sure they are. Thank you for that. We won't be putting it in the skips and bins by the looks of it, because 83% of the people are still very happy with tweet of the week. So there we go. And Barry says, "Can I just say, going to last year's Blake 7 event was amazing. Getting that close to my heroes. Well done, Steve, for doing that." Thank you, mate. Much appreciated. It really is. Lots of questions coming in. We can't obviously get through them all. We've already looked at the Chelsea game as well, which is, it's important to look on that, but I don't want to go too far into that game. We don't want to concentrate too much on the negatives. Lee Jones asked a question earlier. He says, "Lads, do we have to win one of the cups again to qualify for Europe, with the league form being so inconsistent at the moment?" I just want to, before I let you answer that, Mitch, I was looking at the league table when I was coming back on the train today, and with the exception of that top 3 now, which of course if Villa win tonight, they will be on 36 points, a point behind Man City, and of course 3 points behind the leaders. They are definitely in a title race. But yesterday's opponents, Chelsea, were on 29 points in 4th place. Newcastle are 6 points off 4th place, a Champions League place. The league is nuts. Chelsea 29, Liverpool 29, Sunderland 27, Man United, if that result stays the same, 26, alongside Palace. Brighton 24 and Everton 24. Newcastle and Brentford on 23. Spurs and Bournemouth, who are in 14th place, down to 20 on 22. Fulham, who are just above the league, above the relegation zone with Leeds, are on 20 points and 19 points respectively. Forest's on 18. Then you've got your bottom 3, West Ham, Burnley and Wolves, 13, 11 and 2. So that gap really at the moment between 18th and 17th, West Ham and Forest, which of course could be increased if Forest can win. Is it tonight or tomorrow they play? But if they win, they could literally go above. They could leapfrog into 15th place, and could leave West Ham in a bit of a mess down there. And the gap's getting bigger. But what I'm trying to say to you is that league at the minute is just so tight, Mitch, and honestly, anybody could get into Europe at this moment in time, but things aren't decided in December.
It needs, and the key word there is inconsistent. If there's one team can put a consistent run of form together in the latter half of the season, I think they will trot through to Europe. No problem. And it for the sake of a lick of paint, for the sake of a VAR decision, for the sake of this or that, why can't it be us? We've got these sort of, within the fan base, we think negatively constantly. It's past Stockholm syndrome now with something which I think is so many of our fans just don't believe good things happen to them. And so again, it's part of the evolution of becoming the mindset of a big club. And we said all along, as a fan base, there'd be things we had to learn. You would never see Man United's fan base thinking like we do. As bad as they've been, do you see their fan base thinking like we do? And that's because they're used to positivity and good things and being able to sort things out. Steve, I don't think it's a large
contradiction in terms, that isn't it? A large minority.
I think the best phrase would be a vocal minority, particularly on social media. I touched on it on Friday. I don't know what some people want. I really don't. But if we can go and put a run of form together, we will climb that table pretty damn quickly. You've just said it's 6 points. These days is nought. 3 points for a win. We can go on a run of form and get things sorted out. Suddenly, we're being a much healthier win. It's super frustrating. That's the biggest, feeling for me. It's frustration. You can see it's so nearly there. So many things are so nearly. And then you get the odd moment, which is utterly inexplicable, like the derby.
Yeah.
I still am at a loss as to why we allowed Sunderland to win that game by turning up with the one thing you would expect is the minimum that a team should turn up to a local derby with, which was honest endeavour. And that's all they turned up with. There was nothing special on the pitch there. We could still be playing now and they wouldn't score a goal. We just let them. And that frustrates and angers in equal measure.
Yeah, Steve, this whole league is nuts at the minute. I think what's probably got people like Alan Thompson in the chat tonight saying, yeah, my prediction of 9's going to come true is because the majority of our away games have been awful. We haven't been able to get the results that we've been able to get on the road in recent seasons. And we've still got all the big 6 or big 8 to play. But I think if anything's been shown this year is that anybody can beat anybody. I mean, who would have predicted Leeds Crystal Palace yesterday? That in itself is crazy. Man United, starting to climb up the league, and then suddenly a 4-4 with Bournemouth. Liverpool losing however many games they lost in consecutive games. It's not the usual season this season.
No, it's not. What I would say is it the mindset of the fans that we should be questioning, or is it the mindset of the players? Because at the end of the day, it's not the fans that get the results. It's the players. It's the squad. That squad of players have to be professional enough, and they have to realise that they're the ones that that need to have the winning mentality. They're the ones who need to be busting the gut on the training pitch when somebody's slightly off form, so they can take their place and then hold that place down. And that's the mindset. So all well and good having the fans and us going, I'm expecting this and I'm expecting that. You know, it's hope. It's not expectation. It's hope, isn't it? We hope we can do well, but we have no say in how Elanga is going to perform, or Anthony Gordon, or Joe Linton, or Ramsdale in goal, or the back four. We have no say in that whatsoever. We don't know what's going on in their heads. It's Eddie who has to get his squad into the right mental frame as much as the right physical frame, and that's where the winning mentality comes from. It comes from consistency of performance, and it comes from knowing that as a member of that 25-man squad, that you are good enough to step in and take anyone's place in that squad. You've got the confidence to do that. And you look back over the years of players who have come in to teams at 18, 19-year-old and held that place down. Rooney, a perfect example. An amazing winning mentality that he took onto the pitch every single game. Alan Shearer, winning mentality, took it on the pitch. You could even say Craig Bellamy with his attitude and, you know, his will to win and his desire to win, you know, to the point where he would fight with his own teammates if he had to, you know, or his manager or his coach, because he had the self-confidence to think he should have been in that team if he'd been dropped. And I think that's where we sometimes as fans are, or, you know, we're not considering that. You know, it's the squad. That squad has to have the winning mentality. Now, do we roll that back a little bit and say, when the chief executive says we want to be at the top in 5 years, is he questioning the players that he's currently got in the squad? You know, is he questioning some of the performances? I don't know, but it could be that we as fans were absolutely delighted to hear that we are going to be, you know, up there and challenging in 5 years' time as the best team in the world. But it's the current players that've got to get with it, or the new signings. And the only way that you're going to get new signings coming in is if they think that they can come in and replace and do better than the people that are there. It's all, I mean, it's a revolving, you know, scenario. The whole thing's spinning, and there's so many plates that need to fall into place to get us to where we want to be. And yes, the hope comes and the excitement comes when the performances are there. And we've had some great performances over the years. We've tailed off a little bit from the high standard that Eddie set, getting us to the cup final. Maybe we're suffering a little bit from sort of, you know, cup finalitis, winning aspect of what all that meant. And that will probably be a drain on some of those players, but it's up to those players to then pick themselves up. I think we also have the added thing that it's a World Cup year. And I think there are players right across the league who are holding back at the moment in terms of their performance. You know, going in as an 8 out of 10 because, you know, they're worried that, you know, if their form dips, they'll not be, or if they get injured, they'll not be making a particular country selection panel and not be selected for the World Cup. So they're gradually building themselves up. Anthony Gordon's probably a perfect example of that. You know, Anthony Gordon's gone through a very, very quiet, steady spell, and is he now, as the season moves into the next phase, are we going to see the performances that say, you know what, yeah, that lad should be in the World Cup squad, he should be there for England, you know, because none of those England players, bar probably 2, have been told that they're going to be there in America in 2026, and Anthony Gordon's at the moment is not one of them. What I would say is, in terms of the league, we're only halfway through. We've all got to play each other again, you know, and we can. We forget that. So all those teams that are hovering around us, they've all got to play each other, and you know, some of them are going to lose out. Some of them there's going to be a dip in form. Some of those teams who have been performing a little bit better than anticipated might slip off. We might be the team that steps up to the plate and realize that our performances haven't been good enough, and now we're going to move on, and now we're going to take that step forward. Who knows? A lot of it will depend on how Eddie reacts, and how his coaching staff react, and how his fitness team react in terms of what they're seeing. and what they can do to put these right and to get those players into that mental mindset. Because there are players in that squad who I would class as winners. And I think we've seen performances of 2 on Saturday in Tonali and Bruno, who took that game by the scruff of the neck at times. We saw probably one of the best performances I've seen from Lewis Hall. And when we look at Lewis Miley and we think 2 really good performances at right back, a position that's not his, the only caveat I would have to that in terms of us supporters thinking he's now going to be the regular right back and we'll probably sell Livramento now because we've got this lad. Sometimes when you come into a team like that and you're playing at a position that's not yours, you raise your standard or you raise your game or you're concentrating, and you're specifically concentrating because you have to, because it's not your natural game. And then there will be a drop. Miley will have a poor game at right back. There's no question if we still keep going, because that's only natural, because it's not his natural game. He's bound to make mistakes at one particular point. His natural game is in midfield. And I think that's another area again that we've forgotten about, the injury crisis, and some people would call, but the injury problems that we have across the back four. I don't know about you, but every time Fabian Schär goes in for a header, I'm thinking, oh, we're looking at another concussion here, and he's going to be out. We've lost Dan Burn. We've got Botman, who's on the injury list. We've got no Lascelles for whatever reason. We've got no Kieran Trippier for whatever reason. Injuries during training, apparently, that are keeping them out. And then you look at the midfield, and we seem to be overrun, but we're overrun with like for like in terms of Willock and in terms of Ramsey, and it's a case of one of them holding it down. But you can guarantee all Eddie will do is swap. And Eddie did on Saturday what I think 99% of the crowd thought he would do, which was just replace his entire front three. You know, it was like, right, that's me change. I'm going to look for something different. I'll replace the entire front three. Eventually replace a midfielder. But that's the only criticism I have. Sometimes you can predict the injuries, you can predict what's what, you know. So,
we've got a guest on. It is Mr. Penman.
I just want to say Merry Christmas, everyone, and me alcoholic partner. Hi guys, Merry Christmas to all the team fans. See you, everybody. How are you?
Good to see you, JC.
That's great. He's led me astray today. And he's never bought a drink, by the way.
I never swear in this channel. I was just about to.
So listen, great to catch up with you guys, and I'm going to have to leave you now.
So do I, because I can't speak.
Yeah, and I'm struggling. Thank you.
See you later. Thanks a lot, man. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Great to see you, Stu. And JC, he knocks around in some dodgy circles, that JC. I'm definitely going to say that. Anyway, yeah, I want to focus for this last 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just on Lewis Miley. You've all talked about Lewis in the chat. The lads have mentioned Lewis Miley as well. From our perspective, he has stepped into the right back situation and looks, to be fair, as if he's played there all of his life in those first couple of games. We've also had a situation develop, and Tuna, you mentioned this. This is where this idea has come from to discuss this, about Voldemort. And Chantel's come in late and said, question for the lads, if you can, is the team starting to match what Voldemort needs to assist him on the wing? And if he starts to know what we need from him as a striker by staying forward? So I know it's going back to yesterday's game in a roundabout way, but Mitch, Voldemort, 2 goals yesterday. Wingers, finally finding the right balls for Voldemort to score. And let's
could have easily had a hat trick.
Yeah. And Lewis Miley at right back. Is this like Steve Howe? Is this where we suddenly, through injuries have now discovered a different position that he can be developed in?
I think it's wonderful to have that string to his bow. If you look at the size of him, he could probably step into centre back if he wanted to as well. Really. But it's quite clear he's seen as a midfielder going forward, and that everybody sees his future in midfield. To have like any Newcastle fan, he'd play in goal if he was asked. And he wouldn't complain about it. There's something about him. The fact that Eddie's not a manager who tends to trust or play teenagers, yet he's played Miley since he was 17-year-old. He talks about them as not an ordinary teenager. He talks about them as an exceptional individual. Yet there's also something about Lewis Miley that he still seems quite self-effacing, almost shy, in some ways almost naive. You look at his face when he scored that goal against Fulham. There's still a kid enjoying scoring a goal there. And I love that. I absolutely adore that. Because that's the essence of football, isn't it, really, I suppose? That sort of unbridled childlike joy that scoring a goal can bring you. It's testimony to him. His ability as a footballer and his football intelligence. Players can adapt to their positions if they understand how that position works. And when you can plug into how a position works, your natural football talent will take over. And there are a lot of shared attributes from, I guess, central midfield to full back in terms of work rate, tackling. But positionally, what I've been impressed with was I was concerned that he would get a torrid time by Chelsea's wide players, and not at all. In fact, he looked better at showing Garnacho to the side he didn't want to go than I think I've seen some seasoned fullbacks deal with Garnacho's tendency about which way he wants to go. That's just testimony to his football intelligence. Wonderful to have that option, but I think it's something I would only ever nurture as an option. Because my problem with players who suddenly can cover 5 or 6 positions, a la Steve Watson or Aaron Hughes, is they then lose an ability to stake a claim for themselves in a team somewhere because they're constantly filling in somewhere else. And then I think their career drifts a little bit. And so for Lewis, I would like to think he's going to be allowed to focus on claiming that side of the place in the midfield. But we've seen players at young age shift to different positions, and suddenly 20 years later they're playing for England in that position, and it's like they've never played a different one. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility. For now, let's just enjoy his development as a footballer and be grateful he's in the black and white shirt.
In Valdemar, have we found the recipe for success?
The evidence of yesterday. 2 goals, should have had a third. Could have easily had a third. Certainly caused Chelsea's backline bother all day long while he was on the pitch. But that was helped by taking up better positions and being given the ball in better attacking positions in the box. We're still, I hate the phrase team in transition, but we are and have been since the whole Isaac debacle. Talk about something derailing a season, really. But it's these things that give me hope, though, going forward, that a consistency to deliver results is possible. That first 25 minutes is the best we've played all season, in my opinion. More of that, please. Because there's nobody, I don't think there's a team in the Premier League could have lived with us that first 25 minutes.
Steve, thoughts on those 2 players?
Valdemar first. if you play Baltimore, you play the right pass to him in the box, he's going to get you goals, as he's proved. None of his goals have come from shots outside the box. None of the goals have come from picking up the ball deep, turning and running at a defender and getting past him and taking a shot from 20 yards. They've all been goals inside the box, headers, touches, turns, little flicks. That's what he's good at. He's also very good at setting up other players, but we haven't had anything really when he has set other players up, when he's held the ball up and then created an attack that has come to any sort of positivity, simply because we've never had the players in the box to replace him. He's then turning and trying to get into the box, so he's starting the move and trying to finish the move. And that's because of the wide men that we've had on who have either found it difficult or reluctant to put a decent cross in, usually because there's nobody there. So yes, Voldemort. I think we still need to find a position for him. We still need to find a way that we can play Voldemort to his strength, and I think that's the conundrum that Eddie has. Now, going to Lewis Miley, let's look at Lewis playing fullback. What were the other options? You could have played Murphy at fullback, but if you played Murphy at fullback, where would you have put Lewis Miley? Because if you'd already decided that Jacob Ramsey was going to be on the left-hand side of midfield, and you already had Tonali and you already had Bruno, then I'm afraid there was no position for Miley to play in midfield. So straight away, it was altering the thinking in terms of what Eddie wanted. What could he have done if he played Murphy? If he played Murphy at right back, he might have then had to push Elanga onto the right-hand side. Now, we all know that there's an issue there of starting Elanga. We saw it in midweek. We saw his performances against Sunderland, running into blind alleys, unable to cross a ball, just completely off form. So that wasn't going to be an option. He could have played Barnes on the right, and he could have played Gordon on the left. But we've seen how that's operated in past games where he switched them. He's made a substitution and he switched them, and it still hasn't come off at times. So I think he went for the option of ensuring that he was going to be playing Ramsey in both games, and because of that, he had to play Lewis Miley at right back, because he knew he would get an awful lot out of Lewis Miley in terms of commitment. As I said earlier, however, Lewis will, because he's not a natural right back, he will have Rick in him. Let's hope it's not in the next few games when we still have to play him as right back. Let's hope that he grows into the position and he keeps the concentration going. But it's only natural as a midfielder slotting in that he's gonna have an error in him at some point in time, and that's not his fault. It's just because it's not his natural game being a right back. I think Mitch, you're absolutely spot on. That you think of Steve Watson as a perfect example. Aaron Hughes, like you said, two players that could play centre back, two players that could play right back. In terms of Watson, he could play midfield. He played up front. I think he probably did go into goal at one particular point. He played.
He was a reserve keeper on the bench once. It's the only position he didn't actually play first team game in.
Yeah, it affected him, didn't it? It affected his long-term future at Newcastle United.
Nobody knew what to do with him.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the danger. You know, you suddenly go, well, I've always got him to rely on. I can always go back to that. You know, if desperate, I'll just say, "Oh, Stevie, you're playing right back today," you know, without any thought to why or what was going to come from it. But we're being driven into this at the moment. We're in a situation where we have no option, I think, but to play Lewis Miley at right back because of the changes that it makes further up in deciding, well, you know, who do you play on the right-hand side in front of him? Who's on form? Which of those players? Is it Murphy? Is it Elanga? Is it Barnes? Is Barnes better on the left than the right? Is Gordon better on the left and the right? And are you ever going to play the two of them together? All of these type of things. And I think Eddie's just decided, you know, that's his best option at the moment. It's a shame that we have Livramento out injured at the moment. And I just hope that given the way he played yesterday, Lewis Hall can stay fit because he's going to be a key player going forward. Having said that, there's no reason why Alex Murphy, because another player that I think that Eddie trusts and did mention in dispatches during the week, that he's a player who now understands the system, understands what's needed to come into the team. And we've talked about it in the past about how important Eddie thinks of understanding the system, understanding the messaging, understanding the formation, understanding what he wants at a particular time in terms of his game management. So, but I'm not knocking Lewis Miley. What I'm saying is he's an immense talent, but I think, and there's no reason why he can't break into the England squad in the next 3 or 4 seasons, in the way that Elliot Anderson's done. And let's hope it's in a black and white shirt and not in the red of Nottingham Forest or some other club.
Yeah, we've got 10 minutes left. John Askew asked us a few questions. He sent an email as well, but he just wanted up the wingers. These 2 questions. He said, in my opinion, hot and cold, Anthony Gordon's the last thing we need to help us move forward. He just can't be trusted to produce the goods consistently. But what do the professionals think? He then said, Harvey Barnes has recently enjoyed the best form of his career and then finds himself dropped. I think it's crackers, to be honest, and does it point at Eddie having his favourites? I mean, yeah, Anthony Gordon, again, that we saw yesterday, Mitch, is the Anthony Gordon you want to turn up week after week after week. There has been clearly something not right with him. Drop a form, whatever. But yeah, it's that finding that recipe for success for the wingers has been difficult, hasn't it?
You've got Gordon who, for big games when you want him to turn up, either disappears up his own arse and hides in plain sight, or gets himself so wound up he gets himself sent off.
Yeah.
And then he'll turn up for 45 minutes of a game like that yesterday, and you're like, well, where were you last week? When you were hiding on the edge of the box at every opportunity possible, and happy to have a go at anybody. You're happy to have a go at Walterman if I put the ball in the back of his own net. Well, what was your pathetic little back header away from goal on the edge of the box when you were hiding in plain sight? What was that all about, kid? So where was the performance then? You're right, Barnes must be frustrated as hell. Puts in a hell of a run of form. He's patently better on the left than he is on the right, but still seems to be better as an impact sub than anything else. When he starts, he doesn't always turn up with the goods. Murphy's great, but he has his limitations. Like I said at the start of the show, I thought Elanga was the perfect 1-2 punch with him to swap around and to get the best of the right-hand side. And we've bought the Man U version of Elanga, not the Nottingham Forest version of Elanga.
Gordon was top-notch yesterday, says Derek, and he was.
Yeah, he was. Praise where it's due. But criticism where it's due. Where were you last weekend, kid?
Yeah.
When we could have done with it.
Yeah, and that's the point Rory's making. It's the wingers that's in it. It's an enigma.
It's an enigma wrapped in a bloody confusion inside of a puzzle, inside of a Rubik's Cube. And it's why it frustrates Wall, because we can see Elanga's got all the attributes, the pace that Elanga has, but he doesn't seem to have the self-belief. And so I think, it's up to Eddie, obviously, to get the best out of these players. But they all seem to bring, you'd think they bring so many different attributes that within there's got to be successful combinations. And there are, but seemingly for only 20 minutes of certain games.
Yeah, Steve, there's no answer at the moment, is there? There's no right or wrong, and it's no the wonder Eddie's left scratching his head because, it must be frustrating for him.
Well, yeah, he's scratching his head, Steve, but he's also sending out a team to play totally different to the way that team's been set up for the last 2 years, which is playing with pace, playing with intensity. He seems to have, for whatever reason, maybe it is the Champions League and the extra games that we're playing, but we seem to be we're not being playing with that intensity, and the players that are missing out because of it were fast men, were wide men, the man with pace. where they're not feeding them the ball, or we're feeding them the ball in the wrong areas, or they're doing it in fits and starts. And so, do we look at the formation? Do we look at the style of play that we've tried to develop, which is a little bit slower? It's a little bit more controlled. It's a little bit more passing through midfield and in midfield, as opposed to the high intensity, the high press, where the likes of Gordon and Barnes in particular benefited from that high press. They benefited from Joe Linton, from Tonali, from Bruno winning that ball high up in the midfield and then being released when the central defenders of the opposition or the fullbacks of the opposition were being caught out. They were being caught in possession. They were trying to come forward, and then we were hunting in packs. We're not hunting in packs at the moment, or we haven't been. We did on Saturday. We started to do that in the first half. And maybe what I'm trying to get at is that it's no one thing. It's not. We cannot pin it down to one particular aspect. There are a number of facets in our game that are different, and yet we've still got the same players, and we're expecting those players to still perform and still produce the goods, but doing it in a slightly different style. And it's just that 1%, drop off that 1%, that slight, and it creates that little bit of question. Should I go forward at this point? Do I need to hold up? If I fly down the wing, am I wasting my time because I'm putting crossing and Voldemort still 20 yards back, and none of my midfield have pushed on because my midfield are sitting so deep. My fullbacks are sitting deep because Eddie wants a strong line of four. So and there's all of these little tweaks and turns, and that we probably need to consider, and that the criticism that we throw in, we do because at the end of the day we just see a poor result or a poor performance, or what we think is a poor performance from a player. But there's probably an awful lot more to it than we're actually sensibly looking at and doing it in a straightforward and coherent way. We're very much reactive to the result, and we're not analysing why the results has got us to where we are. In terms of like the Sunderland match, for example, where we just didn't start. For some reason he lined us up and he thought he could just absorb it. I think what the biggest problem was that Sunderland weren't very good, and Sunderland were never ever going to push you down the line, and they were never going to push you down the middle. And I think you kind of ended up in a sort of almost like trench warfare mentality in that midfield, in terms of one of you looking over the hill and at the opposition, and the opposition looking over the hill out the trench at you, and you manoeuvred and you danced around each other, but neither team really did any damage to each other, and I think that was symptomatic of the goal. The goal came from just one player being out of position, and a cross coming in, and lack of communication at the back. If Voldemort, he wouldn't have been there if Byrne had been on the pitch, and Chow would have probably called. Chow ducked to try and get the ball, and Voldemort had jumped in front of him. And I think they all got confused by the hands that were thrown up by the Sunderland midfielder when the cross came in. And I think just those slight different things. And somebody said to me after the game, would the ball have gone over Pope's head in the manner that went over and dropped over Ramsey? That's just that extra 2 or 3 inches, that little bit of an extra reach where he might have flicked it over the bar or flicked it in against the bar, and then we could have scrambled it away. All these minor things, that we analyse and look at. So, but yeah, we can do a deep dive if we want, but it's not going to do any good. We just know what's going to happen.
I'll tell you what, revolving door in the boardroom, there was a major revolving door moment in the dressing room as well. Those things will have their effect on Newcastle, but at the end of the day, we still support the team. We want the best for the team, and we've just got to hope that the second half of the season can be better. It's going to be tough with the games that we've got, but as anything in this season has shown us so far in the Premier League, absolutely anything can happen. Villa have won 2-1. They beat Manchester United. They go into third place as we go into the Christmas period. Tomorrow morning, back 11 a.m. with Supermac and Gibbo. That'll be their last show before Christmas and New Year. On Tuesday night at 6 o'clock, it will be the Fans Forum. And on Wednesday, there will be a live. If it's not me and George, it'll be me on my own. I think it might just be me on my own. And then we'll have a week off. Everybody can chill out, reflect, get fat, and watch a few films on TV. Thanks to everybody who has tuned in tonight. Over 700 via across different platforms. Please jump onto YouTube, hit the subscribe button. We do 7 shows a week. Take care, Steve. Thanks, Mitch.
Merry Christmas,
Cheers, everyone.